Well, guess who's back? Patana MMA with more DWCS breakdowns. I know I haven't uploaded on YouTube. I really only found joy in doing these breakdowns for my YouTube channel, so that's what I will be doing from here on out. I'm just going to be doing DWCS stuff. But with that said, I will be covering DWCS weeks 2 through 6 in Las Vegas in person as a credentialed media member, so that is incredible. I can't wait for that. But without further ado, it's time to break down some fights, right? I mean, we have a sick week of fights ahead of us for week 1 of the Contender series, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, here you go. Take a look. We have some interesting matchups. I know they've been heavy on 185 this year in general, and we have 3 185 matchups off the bat on this card alone. So that's definitely a big thing to point out. But we're just going to get right into the mix with Damian Pinas versus Talha. We're going to work our way from the bottom to the top. And I'm also going to be in the middle of my breakdowns, basically going from striking to grappling to like other random things I picked up. That's the way I like to keep it. I might mix it up a little bit, but I'm going to keep it mostly that way. So even if someone is a stronger grappler, they're going to have their striking talked about first for the most part. Just keep that in mind. So, without further ado, we're going to get into our first fighter of the season, which is Aruba's Damian Pinas. Pinas is 23 years old. He is 6'1", and he is obviously a middleweight. He has 7 finishes with 6 KOs in his career. And like I said, he's fighting out of Aruba from Shoutout, Brazil, which is where he trains. He trains at Nova União in Brazil, which makes sense because there's not a lot of gyms out there in Aruba, right? Pinas has some devastating power. His 1-2 just ends fights. He's patient and picks his shots very well. He loves to fire off those hooks in the boxing range. But he has no problem sitting on the back foot and countering, which is something he might have to do a bit of in this fight. He fires off his rear high kick a lot, but has also come out in southpaw and still fired off that rear high kick. So I'm not sure if that's just something he likes to do, is just fire off that high kick, or if he does actually like to fight in southpaw. I haven't seen enough of that from him. Pinas also likes the outside leg kick, and he has great scrambles and reversals off of potential takedown attempts, but I mean, his takedown defense is just nowhere near par of UFC level. It's just bad. It looked decent in his last fight, but it was bad against Gomes, it was bad against Matos, and it was bad against Villalobos, who was 0-2 at the time, lost that fight, and never fought again in his career. So just losing that fight in the way he did, not losing that fight, but dealing with adversity in that fight the way he did, like, it was rough. You know, he kind of got that Darce out of nowhere after Villalobos made a mistake, but it was not a good look. He was being taken down at will by a guy who went 0-3 in his career. So against a wrestler, it's not a great look. Matos also showed a lot of flaws in Pinas's game. In that fight, he kind of outstruck him a little bit and definitely had the better of the grappling in those moments before Pinas kind of just bonked him, which is kind of the theme of most of his fights. Kind of just bonks people out of nowhere after losing most of the fight. He does have some kind of sneaky subs from the bottom, but he really is just mostly kind of a fish off his back. He doesn't really offer much in the grappling, not much in the get-up department either, but he will find a way to sneak up sometimes, just usually not through his own doing. His top control isn't great either, and he'll jump guillotine and lose position way too often. He can't defend submissions that well, but he does tough out of them most of the time. Like, technically, he isn't defending these submissions well, but he's just thugging them out and getting through it. He elbows the arms in the clinch a lot. I thought that was really cool. When people haven't clinched against the cage, he'll elbow their arms to weaken up their arms and just wear them down, which is really creative. He also is very intimidating and calm when he smells blood. He doesn't get over aggressive. He stalks you down, walks forward slowly, and picks his shots very, very well. He does duck his head down a bit and has been caught because of it. He will duck his head down into the uppercut sometimes, which is something that may play a factor in this fight. But he does have some great elbows in the clinch to defend those takedowns and doesn't know how to actually separate through his grappling. Pinas has some nasty up kicks. I mean, he had a nasty KO with one of them, but he needs to throw them legally next time because that KO got him a DQ loss against Italo Gomes. Yeah, so he did KO his opponent in that fight, but not legally. So if he threw that up kick legally, definitely would have been a really nice win. But Gomes was also a really tough test that he was not doing great passing before that point. He also doesn't have an impressive gas tank. It feels like he's just kind of, you know, losing every fight and wearing down, and then he'll miraculously just find the finish out of nowhere, which is something that really worries me going into this fight. You know, it's not a game plan that you can really rely on having consistently and getting away with, you know? But moving on now, we will be going to his opponent in Murtaza Talha. Murtaza Talha actually represents Bahrain. He is 29 years old with a 7-1 record, 7 finishes, with 6 of those coming in round 1. And he is a DWCS vet himself, having took on Rodolfo Bellato back in 2023. He lost that fight because he gassed out bad, which is also a fear here. We have 2 guys that have had issues in the past with potentially gassing out. Now, Talha trains at the KHK team with Ikram Raliskarov, Rajul Magomedov, and Shamil Gaziev. So it's a very, very impressive team that he trains with out there in Bahrain. But he bounces between 185 and 205. So he is a bit of a heavier opponent. He fought Bellato at 205, and now he's taking this fight down at 185. He starts patient. He really doesn't mind being on the back foot, similar to Pinas. He does have very heavy hands, though, a very strong right hand. He has a really nice right hook, and his straight right or his favorite punches are just kind of throws those at range a lot, just the right hook and the straight right. He does have powerful uppercuts in the clinch, pulls the head down into them and kind of just bashes that uppercut in, which is actually pretty cool. He has some really clean and quick elbows and knees in the clinch, and he just has a limited overall arsenal of strikes, though. That's my one thing with him. His combinations are very repetitive, and he just doesn't throw a lot of different looks. You know, it's really just the same stuff over and over again on the feet, but most of it is just to kind of set up his takedowns. He just kind of storms forward, throwing bombs, looking to get his opponent to the cage, really just uses those punches to set up his grappling, throws the overhand to the takedown constantly, and gets to the clinch and shoots those double legs, you know, just kind of tosses sometimes, but really just goes for that double leg most of the time. He does have some really slick back takes and a really strong rear naked choke. He has a really nice transition into the armbar and will continue to shoot takedowns and initiate clinches even when stuffed, which is really, really good because he won't be deterred. He'll really just keep pushing for it, which might drain on his gas tank though. He does generate some insane power with his ground and pound. His ground and pound is seriously some of the most powerful I've seen in a minute. He's just a mauling and grueling grappler, though. He's really just a smothering fighter. He doesn't really set up his takedowns well as the fight goes on, though, and when he faces resistance, it really hasn't went well. He gassed after 1 round against Rodolfo Bellato after he got a couple of his takedown stuff. And he actually has some questionable takedown defense himself. He was taken down in a couple of his fights. I want to say it was the Cesiniani fight that he got taken down, and then he was able to reverse and get the armbar, which was nice, but that was an interesting look. But overall, you look at his opponent's records, and you're like, damn, you know, he's fought some really solid competition throughout his career. A lot of these guys, you go into their records, I mean, I'll just check one right here, for example. They haven't beat good guys, you know, negative record, you know. None of his opponents that have good records are beating good guys. So it's kind of like, I'm not saying he's a fraud, but I mean, you see flagged by Tapology for issues with legitimacy. Like, that's never a good thing to see right before a DWCS fight, especially. That's the one fight he had before his last one, and his last one was not the best look. My prediction for this fight is actually going to end up being a Talha early sub, despite everything I just said. I do think Talha is going to be able to get Pinas down early. I think he's going to be able to control the fight. I think he's going to be able to control the range, and I really think he's just going to be able to do what he needs to do to get Pinas out of there early, because like I said, he's kind of just a fish on his back. With that said, though, Pinas could very well use the game plan that Bellato used to beat Talha and just defend takedowns and take him out when he gasses. I just don't think Pinas has the grappling defense to actually execute that plan. Talha's chin isn't bad, but if the fight goes past round 1, Pinas can definitely burn him. Talha probably will just smother him, though, and, you know, neither of them have that much cage time, so I feel like Talha's amateur experience, especially, will play a big role here, and just him having a lot more cage time in general. I just think it's gonna get him the win here. I give me Murtaza Talha via round 1 sub. I think he gets it down early and gets this fight done. Moving on to our second fight of the season, we have another middleweight matchup between Chile's Christopher Ewert and Russia's Yuri Panferov. Going to be kicking it off with Christopher Ewert here from Chile. So Ewert is 31 years old, but he's 7-0 with 5 KOs, all 5 coming in round 1. And he's fought in Fury and FC. That's where he had his last 2 fights. He also fought in Combated Global earlier in his career, picked up a win over Jimmy Pace, who will also be on the Contender series later this season, which is pretty cool. So Ewert has bounced between 170 and 205 pounds for most of his career. He's a very high volume boxer, loves a dirty boxing match, but he's definitely more sloppy with his boxing. He's very bouncy and very light on his feet and uses his jab as a big movement stuffer to kind of throw his opponents off. He also has some very sneaky power in the pocket, especially with those hooks. You really don't see it coming, but those hooks will really catch you and end your night. He did it against AJ Chambers, I think. He caught him with a big hook and it was like, whoa, and then he landed a body shot. I think again against Ibanez, these two fights, I think he landed really big hooks out of nowhere that changed the complexion of the fight. He leads with his left hook as much as he uses his jab, and he throws some really big knees in the clinch, mixes them to the head and body just constantly. He does throw the occasional elbow off the break and will use knees as one of his main attacks on the feet. He also likes to throw hooks in the clinch and rip his knees to the body, mixes in the lead and rear body kicks with his combos a lot, and just rips hard hooks to the body from both sides. Once he swarms, he throws his rear high kick a lot more and just gives no space to breathe, and just it feels like he really needs to give two back after he takes one. He's just that kind of fighter. He has some really hard outside leg kicks as well, but no interest in grappling at all. Solid get-ups even when taken down, and if he is forced to grapple, he just gets beat in scrambles and put in uncomfortable situations. It's not really a good thing if he is grappling, but he just uses stand-up jitsu, and it works out really well. He won't ever really accept bad positions, though. He's always scrambling and working to get out, and he's really not attentive enough after breaking the clinch sometimes, which is something I think he needs to be. I've seen him get caught off the clinch a couple times, which is like, keep your chin down. But he did get held up against the cage a lot versus Jimmy Pace. It was kind of an annoying fight to watch because it really felt like he could have done more and really could have separated more, but he just couldn't, he was unable to. He kind of strikes similarly to Dricus at times, but really just all the time instead of in spurts. He doesn't really have much technique to his striking. It's kind of just brawling. And he can get boxed up with his back against the cage. The fight with Pace, like I said, was really ugly. But he does love being in those ugly boxing matches that just let him show off his style at best. It can look bad at times, but it's what he wants to do, and it's what he's effective at doing. It's what he's done in basically every single one of these pro fights at this point. He does have solid cardio, even in grueling clinch-filled fights, but he always wants to be pressuring and moving forward. His chin and body seem to be pretty tanky, which goes with his nickname pretty well, but he needs to make it kind of dirty for him to win the fight. He does this weird running jump thing that I feel like is going to get him in trouble at the higher levels when he just randomly runs in and jumps at his opponents. I really don't get what that is, but he'll fight the exact same from start to finish until the final bell. He really doesn't change much. He doesn't gas too much. He doesn't get deterred. He's really just the same fighter throughout, which is really good to see. So now moving on to his opponent, Yuri Panferov, we have a 28-year-old Russian, the Russian polar bear. He is 8-1 in his career with 8 finishes. Fights out in New England with the New England Cartel. This would actually be his second DWCS appearance. He actually fought Torres Finney in 2023, actually a week after Murtaza Talha fought in 2023, funny enough. But he has some really strong straight punches on the outside, massive hooks in the pocket, and just starts swinging like a fight isn't 15 minutes. He's a very fast starter, and he'll launch his left hook just to get into grappling range, though. I feel like a lot of his striking is just bombs to get into grappling range. He spent way too much time getting out-grappled by Finney, though, for someone that is a grappler. He never fully accepted bottom position, but he was getting out-grappled pretty heavily in that fight. He has some really nice elbows when he's up against the cage and the clinch, and big punches off the break. He swarms when he smells blood, but has no patience at all, and has pretty bad IQ sometimes when swarming, where he'll just rush in and give his opponent so many chances to just grapple and recover. We saw it a lot in the fight against Finney. There was multiple moments where he kind of let that happen. He kind of just tracks his opponents, though. He doesn't really dictate the fight or dictate the pace with his footwork, which I feel like he will be tracking Ewert around the cage a lot in this fight. And he does have some decent slam takedowns and trips, but that's really it. I've seen him put himself in bad positions off submission attempts. He does like to get to the back and attack the rear naked choke, but there's no way his rear naked chokes are going to work against decent competition. I mean, he doesn't get in hooks, and he'll just kind of throw them in. Like, it's very sloppy sometimes. He does go for Kimuras a bunch as well, but those are also just pretty low success at the higher level. And then he'll also shift to mount and finish with ground and pound when it's possible. He likes to attack the submissions off his back whenever he can, really, and he has some pretty solid wrestling get-ups, but he can knock it off the cage if he gets held there. He has a decent chin. He ate some massive clean punches from Finney, but just doesn't have great grappling defense, really. He was taken down at will in that fight and then submitted in round 2 after he gassed out a little bit. His cardio and gas tank were seemingly his biggest issues, but later finishes in his last 2 fights make me think that it probably is better now. I couldn't tape either of those fights. CES wouldn't give me access to the footage. I wish I could watch Yuri Panferov's last 2 fights to give you guys a better look at who he truly was and who he's truly turned into. But I reached out and they didn't want to give me the footage, so that's okay. He does struggle against strong wrestlers like Torres Finney, and I don't know if either of the guys he fought in his last two really were that strong of wrestlers. It did look like one of the finishes was on the feet, and the other seemed like a pretty bad ground and pound stoppage with 10 seconds left in the third round. It didn't look like that fight should have been stopped. I don't know if he would have won a decision anyway, but he did seem really gassed out at the end of that fight. So for my prediction for this fight, I am going to go with Chris Ewert via third round KO or decision. I think Panferov may get him down, but I'm unsure if he actually ends up controlling the fight at all on the ground. I think Ewert will probably just use his just stand up jitsu and not finish, but get up really easily. I think a finish for KO is a very low probability for Yuri. His sub is definitely the best chance, and if he does get the sub, it will be because Ewert got trapped in a bad spot early and probably couldn't find his way out. But I'd say that it's likely that Ewert overwhelms with his boxing combinations in this fight. He has the superior footwork on the feet. He'll just probably be able to use his boxing to keep Panferov away and maybe even break him down later. Panferov may end up landing some big strikes, but Ewert's chin is too good, and vice versa. Panferov's chin is really good. If he does get finished, to be more of a exhaustion finish than an actual, oh, his chin got cracked finish, I'd say. But Ewert probably has the better cardio, and I'd say he breaks him down late or just makes it ugly and wins a dirty, but pretty clear decision here. I don't think too highly of either of these guys necessarily, but I do think Ewert will win this fight, and I think he is a UFC caliber fighter for sure. Moving on to our next matchup here, we have a very interesting welterweight matchup actually between two very exciting young upcoming fighters in Jimmy Drago and Ty Miller. Now this fight really excites me. I've actually watched Jimmy Drago fight in person multiple times. I'm going to get started with him here. Jimmy is a very interesting fighter. He's 30 years old. He's 7-2 with 4 KOs. He fought in CFFC and reps Animals NY out in New York. But the big story with Jimmy, in my opinion, is the adversity he's came through. He's had insane fan support and ticket sales. I've been to 2 events where he's fought, and it's just crazy. I mean, he really does get the craziest fan support I've seen on the regional scene. He definitely sells a lot of tickets. Half the arena will feel like it's Jimmy Drago fans. So that's usually really sick. I'll say that he gets incredible fan support. He's a big success story as well. Former drug addict that has fixed his life. He was fighting on the street, for cash for drugs, and now he's fighting in a cage for UFC contracts. So you gotta love a story like that. I mean, it's incredible. He's had some really solid wins too. The Alonzo Turner win was nice. The Tile Stewart win was really nice. So he's definitely earned this opportunity, and his story definitely is a big success story. Jimmy is shifty and quick on the feet. He likes to shuffle and bounce a lot. That's kind of like his big thing. He likes to shuffle and bouncing. He is a lower volume boxer, though. He likes to focus on bigger power shots, land more accurately and technically. But he has a very popping jab. He uses it to back his opponents off to get his reads for a little bit longer and kind of keep them at bay. And he has a devastating check left hook. I mean, that check left hook has ended fights, ended nights. I mean, it's a serious fight ender. A couple of those finishes you see there are from that check left hook. He also has a very strong right hand. He just kind of rips it in there, just regular straight right hand, but it has a lot of power in it. Great kicks, fires them quick, mixes them high and low. Will use the leg kick kind of just as much as his jab, to be honest, and will spam the rear high kick if you let him. Alonzo Turner in that fight let him spam the rear high kick, and guess what he did? He kept throwing it and keeping Turner at bay, who was a wrestler, which was a great strategy for that fight, and it worked out very, very well for him. He is great at managing distance on the feet, and he will catch you if you overextend. He has some great knees in the clinch. He'll kind of just spam knees in the clinch if you let him as well. He's a big advocate of spinning shit. He has a nasty spinning body kick and a really nice spinning elbow and some very strong ground and pound as well. If he gets in a flow state, watch out because he gets very dangerous. The Robinson fight, I don't remember. I was there for it, but I don't remember it being too impressive before the KO. But the Turner fight was a very, very solid win. Turner really didn't do much in that fight, though, which is what my big draw was. Turner is a very good fighter, so I want to say it was Drago neutralizing him, but Turner kind of just sat there and let Drago kick him at range. It was pretty weird. He has struggled with more relentless grapplers in the past, like in the Itzo Babulades fight. He did, he exposed some of the grappling weakness there. He had to weather, but he did have to weather the storm first. Babulades did get rocked and nearly finished in round 1 before weathering the storm, getting the late round 3 finish, and taking out Jimmy Drago in that fight. Does get held up against the cage and taken down too easily sometimes, like we saw in that fight. He does get up well for the most part, but he's not very effective off his back. He'll kind of land some strikes off his back, but nothing too crazy, just to kind of keep his opponent not moving, I guess. And in his pro debut against Lenny Rufati, he got cracked really bad. He got knocked out very bad in that fight. So his chin has already been cracked really bad. I don't know if that's something we'll see here, but it was something to note. He did get his chin cracked really bad in that fight. His last fight was a stupid no contest. I mean, Melo wanted out of that fight, in my opinion. He found a way out before Drago gave him one. He got very aggressive when he smells blood in the water, but he will slow down if he faces a bit of resistance, like we saw in the Babu Lades fight. He came from a promotion that catered to him heavily. I think I need to bring that up too. ROC, like, he was their star. You know, he was their ticket seller. He was everything for ROC. So I'm not saying they gave him favorable matchups or anything. I'm just saying they did want to promote him. You know, he was a guy that was a star for them. Now, moving on to Jimmy's opponent, Ty Miller. Ty Miller is 25 years old. He's a massive 6'2" for welterweight, and he's 5-0. 2 knockouts, fought in LFA. He also trains at Fit NHB in New Mexico. His frame, his build, I mean, he's just a very, very big fighter for the weight class. He has very strong boxing. He mixes his punches up very well and makes very quick reads. He uses a long and strong jab, double jabs a lot to open up the block, and has a sniper of a straight right hand that he'll just fire right down the pipe. And he throws it on weird angles too, so it will get through the block as well. He loves throwing the 1-2 and switching up the speed and the power of the way he throws that 1-2 to throw his opponents off. And he has a very quick left hook. It's very sneaky, and he rips it to the body. He stays on top of people with his footwork and does not give a lot of space or room to work or room to breathe. And he is incredible at trapping his opponents against the cage with that footwork. He controls almost every exchange with it. He's really good at maintaining that range on the feet and fights really smart and clean for his age and experience. I mean, he's only 5-0 technically, and he really fights really well. Ty Miller also packs some really sneaky power, especially with his right hand. You won't see it coming, but that power is definitely there. He has a really clean left high kick, a good push kick, some good flying knees, but he's nothing too fancy or too special. He kind of just likes to keep it fundamental and basic with his boxing, just a lot of technique. He did show off that he can box off his back foot against Manny Morales. That was really nice. He was boxing Morales up while Morales was stalking him down on the front foot. And he has some really strong clinch elbows, not afraid to rip them. He uses the knees in the clinch as well. He can struggle with pressure and volume combined, which I'm not sure if Drago will present in this fight, but if he does, it could be an issue. He does keep his hands pretty low, though. He has a very confident style, which he has been rocked a couple times before. Not like rocked, but he's been hit pretty hard, so definitely something to keep an eye on. Eric Nolan did a great job timing his combinations with takedowns. He does get taken down a bit too easily, but he works back up so well and so quick almost every time, and he really rolls with punches well to make up for any bad head movement he has. He does stay calm anytime he gets caught with the big shot, and he's just great at neutralizing grappling by just standing up. Him and Chris Ewert are similar with that just stand up jitsu. He will prioritize the get up over grappling defense, though, so if you can maybe jump on him and catch him while he's standing up in something, that could be something there, but I don't know if Drago necessarily has that in his arsenal. And he does defend very well, but I'm unsure of his gas tank. He looked great through 2 rounds in almost every one of his fights, but he falls off in round 3, like against Manny Morales, against Eric Nolan. I think even against Tovar, maybe? I don't even know if I saw this fight. But either way, he does fall off a little bit in round 3, is my point. And he looks fine through 2 normally, but it's nothing significant. But it usually is enough that he loses the round or has a way too close of a round 3 too much. That last fight ended in the dumbest no contest. Barros probably wanted a way out as well. I think that's why they both got on the Contender Series off of no contest victories. It's a very weird situation. I think it's probably the only time it's happened in DWCS history, but it's because both of their opponents kind of clearly wanted out, and they were both on their way to winning that fight. My prediction for this fight, though, I hate to say it. I know my area is going to hate me for it, Jimmy Drago fans, but I am going to pick Ty Miller by decision here. Jimmy's awesome. Jimmy has really good power in boxing, but I do think Miller is the cleaner boxer. Both do get hit a lot, but I do trust Miller's ability to roll with punches a bit more, even though Drago is the more powerful boxer. I do think Drago will land a couple times in this fight, and he does have the power, so he can put him out. but I'm just not sure if he will. I think Miller is young enough and has showed he has good enough chin at this point that I trust it. And I really could see Drago landing some crazy spinning shit, or maybe just a late rally after Miller's gassed out. I could see him really, like bringing a crazy fight to Ty Miller and definitely maybe even winning. But I expect Miller to manage the range too well, use his boxing, and just use that jab especially to kind of just keep Drago at range, back him off. And I think he'll take this fight by unanimous decision, but there's a chance there's a finish here. I would say it's more likely this fight goes to decision, though. I think both of these guys are fairly tough, and I don't see a submission either way. I trust both of their chins enough at this point that I'd say Miller by decision is the safest pick here, but I do think Drago is very live to win the fight. I think Ty Miller will be able to stay away with his boxing and dictate the fight like he has in the past. You guys better have your seatbelts on, because this co-main event is going to take you for a ride. I mean, come on. This is the fight. Like, this is the fight of week 1, in my opinion. There is no fight I'm looking forward to more on week 1 than Radley De Silva versus George Mangos. I mean, come on. Just let's get right into it here. Radley De Silva, incredible fighter, 7-1 record, snake eyes, BFL champion out in Canada, 30 years old. 7-1, 4 finishes, 3 submission wins. I mean, he is. I know he's 30, so it's weird to call him a prospect, but he is only 7-0. He's the best Canadian prospect pound for pound, in my opinion. I've been very high on Radley De Silva for a bit. He's just constantly switching stances. He's very unpredictable. He uses a lot of feints. He's very kick-heavy attack on the feet, some nasty side kicks, a dangerous spinning wheel kick, really nasty flying knees. He's just constantly throwing crazy strikes on the feet. All this stuff is probably stuff we'll see in this fight because it's stuff he'll constantly throw. He has a very clean 1-2, some solid blitzes with his hands, but really his kicking game is really what we need to focus on the feet. That is what he will use on the feet for the most part. His hands really... they aren't up to par with Mangos's, which is one of my biggest worries for him in this fight for sure. But I do think his technical boxing is good. It's more just he doesn't use it. Like, it's, I don't know. We'll definitely see in this fight. He has been improving on his combinations. He has a nice left hook, but he's also not great on the back foot. He could have problems with overwhelming pressure at times. But I mean, what we got to talk about with Radley De Silva, he is just an absolutely dominant grappler. Strong takedowns, big slams, incredible top control, just a smothering fighter. He chases the submissions constantly, always looking for ground and pound. He is not, he was boring on top earlier in his career, and he kind of changed it, and now he's just been so aggressive on top, constantly looking for the finish. He spent about 80% of his fights in top position, I'd say, like no BS. Of all the fights you're looking at here, probably 80% of these fights have been spent in top position. It's actually nuts how much time he spends on top in his fights. He gets to dominant positions like clockwork. He's always looking to shoot and probably averages a takedown a round. He gets takedowns way too easily, honestly. It's really crazy. I don't know if it's a level of competition thing, but a lot of these guys aren't terrible. Like, you watch the fights, they're not terrible fighters, but he is just on a different level. So I'm not sure. I can't really tell. He can dominate for 15 minutes on the ground easily. Great back takes, nasty ground and pound elbows. I mean, he opened up Drew Brokenshire, one of the worst cuts I've seen in a really long time. And the amount of blood that got in the cage in that short amount of time after he landed the elbow to the end of the fight, I mean, just there was so much blood, guys, so much blood. It looked like a massacre in round 2, honestly. But Brokenshire did attempt a couple of different heel hooks in that fight. Radley thugged them out, but he had some bad moments in them early. He was wincing in pain, like that was very interesting. So that kind of scared me a bit. He does stay calm, though, and escape those submissions very well. He is working on his submission offense and finishes, like I said before, too. He finished his last 3 after a bunch of decisions. He also likes to sit in a high-postured guard, which I think is very important for this fight specifically. And his cardio is not an issue. As you see here, he has been 25 minutes before. Looked fine in that fight. Been 15 minutes multiple times. He's looked fine in all of these fights cardio-wise. That's not really ever been an issue for him. And only one, the big issue, like I said, with the level of competition, obviously, he's fought 4 times since February of 2024. So a lot of these guys haven't even had a chance to fight again, or if they were, it was like whatever. But only one of his opponents actually has a win following a fight against him. So only one of his opponents actually picked up a win after their fights, and it was John Wynn. Funny enough, he won a couple different fights after that, but he's the only one that actually won a fight. None of these guys have actually won a fight since their fights with Radley. So did he fight them when they were washed? I don't know, but I don't think so. I think Radley's really good. Moving on to now another incredible prospect, George Mangos. I mean, I can't even get started with Mangos. Seriously, 21 years old. I mean, 5'10 at 145 pounds. He's 7-0. He has 7 finishes in those 7 wins, 5 by submission. You see it right there. He is the Hex Bantamweight champion. This is a champion versus champion fight. Hex champion versus BFL champion. He has a really strong level of comp, to be honest. I mean, here, let me take out the canceled fight so you guys can fully see it. I should have been doing that this whole time. My apologies. But, I mean, he has a very strong level of comp. Brogan Stort Ing is good. Justin Van Heerden is solid. Wilbraham's good. Tomita is all right. I don't know about Ethan Thomas, but still, he has a good level of competition overall. He's super active. All 7 pro fights came within the last 2 years, as you guys can see. And he can box very well in both stances, switch stances while punching. He has very fluid boxing, very fluid boxing. And his jabs, he jabs well with both hands. I mean, he can switch stances and jab well with either side. It's not a problem. Very fast hands, very quick to counter, and has a popping left hook that if you leave your head out there for too long, he will catch you with it. He does box more in the southpaw, but he is very, very measured in his approach. He's been showing off his boxing and his KO power a bit more lately, which earlier in his career, you can see he was picking up a lot of submission wins. His last 2 are KOs. His boxing does get a bit wild in the pocket sometimes, but really watch out for those hooks because you will get cracked and he will put you out. But he does occasionally rush in throwing those bombs, and it won't be the prettiest. He does have a clean outside leg kick, and it uses a lot of those leg kicks at range. He likes to break the lead leg up early and has a really nice spinning kick. He's a good advocate of the spinning attacks as well. Him and Radley will probably throw a lot of spinning stuff themselves, and very nice teep. Powerful high kicks, but he doesn't use them too often, but they're vicious. I mean, he killed Tomita with that high kick. And good takedowns, clean, well-timed. He's just so relaxed in there. He kind of looks like he's sleeping sometimes. He has a great readjustment on takedown attempts. He won't be scared to just readjust and reshoot. He'll constantly look for that takedown. Pretty relentless offensive grappling with some awesome back takes and a great rear naked choke. He's finished 4 fights with the rear naked choke in 7 pro wins, as you can see. He does get more creative with his submissions and has very slick chokes. He sets them up and hides them very well, and he's very active off his back, looking for submissions, escapes, landing elbows. He'll just be very active off his back. He can come back from being down and get creative to find the finish. Against Justin Van Heerden, he got controlled for like 11 of 15 minutes of that fight before picking up that finish. That finish was with 3 seconds left in the 3rd round, and it wasn't going great for him, honestly. He was looking good with his striking and, you know, his bottom game, but he was getting taken down kind of at will, controlled, kind of outpowered. Van Heerden used those power takedowns and just kind of picked him up, similar to what Radley will like to do. And I don't know, it did get me a bit worried, that fight specifically. He kind of got a Hail Mary submission off his back in round 3. You really can't count on that all the time. It was a 5-round fight, to be fair, but still not the best look for a fight that he is going to now that is 3 rounds. Overall, though, Mangos has a very high IQ and just stays smart even when in bad positions on the ground. He's just a very high IQ fighter in general. And honestly, he's just a elite prospect, just a very elite prospect. He's just still very young, and that's why my prediction for this fight is going to be Radley De Silva by decision here. I do think the things that Justin Van Heerden did in the fight are exactly what Radley is going to want to do here, and I feel like it's going to throw off Mangos again. Not throw him off, I guess, but I feel like it's going to, you know, you can't rely on that sub with 3 seconds left. That's the real issue, you know, and I feel like if Radley that makes it the same fight, I don't know if he'll be able to get the sub, especially because of that postured full guard I talked about before. Mangos does have more power with the boxing, no doubt. Both have great kicks, but Mangos will need to respect Radley's unpredictability. Radley is a lot more unpredictable on the feet, and you really have no clue what he's going to do sometimes. Radley should be able to wrestle him for a majority of the fight, but Mangos definitely has a better chance of a finish, in my opinion. I think Mangos has a better chance of KOing him on the feet, maybe even submitting him on the ground too, but I think the experience gap is really going to be a big part here. Mangos' age, 21 years old compared to fighting a 30-year-old. He has fought older guys before, but it's not not even about that. It's about really the experience and the level of prospect that Radley is. Mangos hasn't shown the subs from the bottom that Radley did struggle with in the past, but I am straight up worried that Mangos might just be a super prospect and that age might not matter because he's already so good just for 21 years old. If he wins, it'll be very scary for the division because we could be looking at a future top contender here in George Mangos, but I still think we could be. But my pick officially for the fight will be Radley de Silva by decision. I think he is going to out-wrestle Mangos. I think he is going to grind on him and wear him down enough to where he just doesn't have enough in the tank to finish Radley. And I don't even know. It's scary because these are two of the most skilled guys on the season, two of the most talented guys. But someone brought up a really good point in one of my chats, and they were like, what if Radley just wrestles him for 15 minutes and doesn't do it impressively and Dana doesn't sign him? That would be the worst outcome for this fight because both of these guys are more than UFC caliber at this point in their career. All right, everyone, it is about that time to get into the main event of our evening. So we are going to be looking at an interesting middleweight matchup, in my opinion, between Ilian Bouafia and Neemias Santana. So this fight interests me for a couple different reasons. I feel like both guys are very limited at times, and I feel like it's going to see a lot of that. We're going to see a lot of that in this fight, I think. Bouafia is 28, 6'5" at middleweight, massive. 6-0 as a pro. He has fought at light heavyweight before, as you see here. He is clocked as a light heavyweight on Tapology, but he has bounced between 185 and 205 for his career. He has 5 knockout wins in 6 pro fights and trains out of boxing squad in France, also fought in Aries out in France, and that's where he made his career. He is a Gan, Imavov, and Furo training partner, so he does train with elite competition. He's a very bouncy style, but keeps the bounces very small. It's kind of funny to watch. He has quick hands, but he is more of a sniper. Average volume, I would say sometimes it's higher and sometimes it's lower depending on the pace of the fight. He does punish aggression well with his quick left hand and has great feints. I mean, great left hand, fast, a lot of power, sets it up well, bludgeons people with it. But as you can tell, I'm only really talking about the left straight here and the left hand. It's because he relies on it way too often. He'll go long periods only throwing it. I've seen periods of his fights. I mean, I want to say it might have even been the Kumena fight or the Kanan fight. One of these 3 fights right here. He was just throwing straight lefts for like 10 punches in a row, 15 punches in a row. He just threw straight lefts. Like, you can't do that. Like, I don't know why he only throws straight lefts like that. He has other good strikes. He has a nice clean lead uppercut. He has a solid jab, but he'll just spam that straight left, really. I mean, just a lot of 1-2s and counter lefts. He has really clean counters, but just always with that left hand. Solid range management. He likes to be on the front foot, backing his opponent towards the cage. Doesn't like to be in the boxing range too much. Doesn't throw a lot of kicks. Needs to throw the teep to the body more. He's a really nice teep to the body, and with his frame, that teep to the body is very effective. Just doesn't throw it a lot. And he's not great in the clinch, though. I've seen him get controlled, taken down. I think he needs to really kind of fight his style of fight. I feel like he'll face problems against someone reckless who really just will ignore his style of fight, which is what Santana might do, to be honest, which is why I'm so weird with this fight. He does leave his hands low a lot as well and can get clipped. He got dropped kind of bad by Carlos Gracia in that fight right there. But recovered well, and it was just a bad defensive moment for the most part. Like, I don't know, like, it really wasn't a good look. He definitely can get too reckless when going for the finish, and that's kind of what happened there. He forced Gracia into a dangerous exchange, and he did clip him with a nice right, which was nice. But the Kanan fight was really weird stoppage in general. Just, I don't know, it wasn't a great performance from him before that stoppage. He showed some dominant grappling and great ground and pound against Kumena. And Bagai, actually, he did show some really good grappling in that fight. And he has some strong get-ups and reversals, but takedown defense. Just, I think his grappling offense as a whole is underrated. Doesn't have too strong of ground and pound, throws in bunches, but I do think his top control overall is all right. I think he actually transitions pretty well. But the Bagai fight was weird. He didn't do much in that fight, and it was a weird, like, close decision kind of fight that not much happened in, and I feel like a lot of people thought he should have walked through Bagai, including me. So that was one of those fights that made you kind of pause a little bit on the prospect that you think Bouafia is. And I'm still unsure on his cardio, because that was the only fight that went to the 3rd round of his, and it really wasn't fought at a high enough pace to where I could say, yeah, his cardio is going to hold up over 15 minutes in a back and forth fight, you know? So moving on now to his opponent, Neemias Santana. Santana is a very interesting one. I I'm very confused on Santana, to be honest. He's 7-2-1 as a pro. Fights out of Brazil, fought in LFA for his last fight, 7 finishes with 6 KOs, 27 years old. He's very calm, very flat-footed, just kind of stalks his opponents and trudges forward, but he's constantly switching stances. Very fluent with it. He kind of spams the lead right hook from southpaw, but still keeps big power in his right hook when he's orthodox. He throws a lot of spinning body kicks, and he likes to throw that left kick to the body a bit too. He has some strong body hooks when he's going in for the kill, but he is a bit reckless at times and just, makes mistakes and just, will run in a bit reckless, I guess. Yeah. Long arms, nice jab. Doesn't use it enough, though. Really just doesn't keep it going enough. He has some really strong knees and does showboat a lot. But yeah, he has a pretty strange style with the showboating, and he's just almost relaxed at times. He does throw combos pretty quick. He throws them in bunches a lot and kind of just runs forward throwing combos sometimes, that recklessness I was talking about. Does have some really good balance, but his takedown defense is kind of just overall. He does like to throw the leg kicks at range and the clean straight left out of southpaw, but his clench elbows are nasty. His left high kick is nice. He throws a lot of those, and he only really throws outside leg kicks. He does have a nice counter check left hook as well. He has some nice ground and pound elbows. Keeps it mostly basic with his technique, though, apart from his spinning kicks. He just keeps it mostly regular. He can randomly push opponents on the back foot and gave completely different looks in his fights with Marcos Vinicius. That first fight was a completely different look from the second fight, and I think that's why he got the finish, is because he came out looking like a completely different fighter, fighting almost a completely different style in that fight. He does have a very stinging straight right hand as well, but doesn't just offer much in the clinch. He can knock you out in some really weird positions. The João Paulo Silva fight, I think it was like elbows in the clinch, like the Pereira Yuri knockout almost. It was a very interesting knockout. That one was cool. And he can be stumped a bit sometimes by a good kicking attack, good movement. That's what happened in the Lucas Rafael fight. Lucas Rafael, that split decision, I did think he pretty clearly lost that fight. I thought Rafael fought really well. Rafael was able to take him down a bit, use that wrestling, his technique, his kicks, and his movement to kind of stump Santana and just really take over that fight. Rafael Silva did really well too in this fight, before throwing a terrible kick and getting knocked out because of it. But before that, I mean, he was doing really well in that fight. Santana does catch kicks pretty well for the most part, and that's why he KO'd Rafael Silva, is because he caught his kick. He fought a completely different style, though, in his last 2 fights, in the Vinicius and JP Silva fights. He fights different. You're unsure what to expect from him sometimes. He gives a lot of different looks, which I guess is really good, because it's going to be hard for Bouafia to prepare for his style. And he's kind of a nothing burger in round 3, though, I will say. Like, the fights he has had that went to round 3, he doesn't do too much. He kind of just looks for the big KO punch, and if he doesn't get it, not looking great for him. But I didn't get to see the De Freitas loss, but I did see the Rafael loss, and it kind of did show me what I need to know about his deficiencies, I'm pretty sure. I do think this fight is one of the hardest to predict on week 1. This is my least confident pick of week 1. I'm going to go with Ilian Bouafia by decision here, just because he really has the higher ceiling, and I'm hoping to see those improvements made in this fight. But if we're going based on their last fights, just taping off their last fight, I think a Santana pick is more than justified. It's really one of those fights where neither guy has really shown what you want to see out of them just yet, and you're kind of hoping to see it in this fight, which is what I'm hoping to see. I think Santana did a pretty good job in his last fight, but I don't know if it was a good enough job to really win me over fully. So my pick for this fight is going to be Ilian Bouafia by decision. It's kind of just like a straight left merchant versus a check right hook merchant. It's really about how evasive Bouafia can be, and if he can kind of mimic Lucas Rafael's game plan of moving away and stumping Santana with his movement. Santana's stance switching could cause issues, though. I don't know if Bouafia has ever fought with a guy that can really switch stances well and fight well in both stances, so that's going to be interesting to see. And Santana's differences in style, I mean, depending on how he comes out, if he comes out different than Bouafia is expecting, he can just throw him off completely and just start whooping him. So I don't really know, but I think Bouafia needs to throw a lot more of his arsenal, the uppercuts, especially his kicks, to keep Santana at range and keep this fight the way he wants it to be fought, because if not, I could easily see Santana taking over with his boxing and potentially even getting Bouafia out of there. But my pick for this fight is Bouafia by decision. Don't sleep on Neemias Santana, though. This is the closest fight of week 1 on my cards, but Could be either way. I want to thank all of you for coming and joining me for my first breakdown of 2025 Dana White Contender Series. I hope you guys all really enjoyed. I love doing these breakdowns. I'm so happy to be doing them again, and I'm so happy to be going to Vegas to cover weeks 2 through 6 of the Contender Series. I'm going to try to keep up with these as best as possible while I am out in Vegas, but I apologize if I miss a week or two, or maybe even just can't do them at all, because my focus there is covering the fighters fighting on Contender Series. You know, I do want to do these breakdowns as much as possible, though. So if anything, maybe I'll just do the individual fight ones from last year if I can only get a couple fights for the week, whatever. We'll see what I can end up doing. But I do want to bring you guys these for the rest of the year, so I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, especially if you've gotten to this point. And thank you all for watching. I appreciate your support.